to Marana Insights for May. Happy to have you all on Facebook Live. And then we are doing it in person now here at the Northwest Fire District Training Center. So we don't have to have our cutout people anymore. We actually have live in-person people here. So welcome to all of our guests in the audience. I'm going to introduce Jenny Hoffman today, and she's going to introduce our guest and tell us a little bit more about what's going on. Jenny?
Good morning, everyone. So for our very first in-person, hopefully next month we'll get more folks in, but so happy to be back out and about. So our first speaker this morning is Chief Ruben Nunez from the Town of Marana Police Department, and he is going to give us an update on the police department. Chief Nunez.
Just hold on to this.
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I have a pin here because I like to play with my. Is that okay? Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for this invitation. I appreciate it. As Jenny said, my name is Ruben Nunez. I am the new police chief for the town of Marana, your police chief. I'm new to the position, but I'm not new to Marana. I've been working as Terry's deputy chief for the last 9.5 years. Prior to that, I worked for the Tucson Police Department for almost 28 years. So all total, I have 37 plus years doing law enforcement. So when we got this invitation, my assistant, Jennifer Mangialardi, put it on my calendar, and I said, what is this about? She says, well, you need to go out and speak to the Chamber of Commerce. And I said, about what? What do I talk about? And she said, well, Terry used to give presentations on crime trends and stats and things like that. And I promise we'll do that later, but I thought this being my first time, the best thing to do is to really talk about what we do at the police department, why we think we're the best police department out there in the state of Arizona, and why we do that. So I decided to introduce, can you see the chart there? Presentation, a little bit about community policing. I want to talk about that because it's important. A lot of police chiefs are talking about that now. What is it exactly? You know, is it a program? Is it a plug-and-play situation? Is it a unit, like a community relations unit? Is it social media? Actually, it's all of those things, right? I remember when I first heard this term, I joined the police academy, or I entered the police academy in 1984. And a year later, then Tucson Police Chief Pete Ronstadt was talking about community-based problem-oriented policing, or CBPOP. Cops like to put things in acronyms, right? So CBPOP was out there, and he was talking about it. And I was the young rookie officer thinking, thank goodness I don't have to do that. That's a unit. I don't have to go out there and be nice. I can go out there and drive fast, shoot guns, put bad guys away, right? How naive I was as a young officer. Over the years, I've really gotten to learn the importance of community policing. Community policing simply is a philosophy. It's a philosophy that we can't do this alone. We need to partner with the community. And we need to make sure that the community trusts us and we trust the community. So how do you do that? Do you do that with programs? Do you do that with presentations? Yes. But I think the most important thing you do, and I hope I can get this to work, is you start off with a mission statement. A mission statement that's very, very simple to understand, remember, and embrace. And so 9+ years ago, Terry Rosema came up with this, and he says, we're dedicated to providing unparalleled service and unwavering protection to every person in the town of Marana, and we do that with uncompromised integrity. So when we talk about unparalleled service, we're talking about doing it better than anyone else, right? It's that golden rule. Treat others like you'd like to be treated yourself. Treat others like they were your parents or your cousins, brothers, and sisters, right? Unwavering protection, whether it's cleaning debris on the street that's going to damage your tires, or it's stopping to help a child whose chain has fallen off his bicycle, that's what we're going to do. Whether if it's cold out there, if it's raining, if it's midnight, it doesn't matter. That's what unwavering protection does. And of course, uncompromised integrity It's doing the right thing all the time, even when people aren't looking. If you lose integrity, you lose it all. So that's very, very important. So we talked about this mission statement, and we drilled it down through all levels of the department, and we embraced those situations where officers actually demonstrated unparalleled service. We congratulated them, we recognized them for it, and also when they did unwavering protection. So we set out to form those partnerships, and I'm going to share a couple of slides here with you. This is a letter, and I get a lot of these every week. Thank goodness. The Marana community is fantastic. But in this case, this gentleman had a bad day that day. He was involved in an accident. He had his daughter with him and his pet. And during this whole ordeal, his dog got away, his daughter went to the hospital, and just had a real bad day. But at the end of the day, he was so pleased with the services our police officers gave him that he sent this letter. And he says, I just wanted to give him a big thank you and also thank the whole department for training amazing officers. And when I hear that, it brings a big smile to my face because I know what he's talking about. So we're serving the community. Now this one, actually, I'm going to read this one out to you, and if I may, I'm just going to take out my notes here so I'm not looking at the screen. This one was really nice because you can read here with me. And this is dated April 28th, so it's real recent. Several days ago, my wife Ruth, who is 84 years old and suffers from advanced Alzheimer's disease, slipped out of the front door of our home in Sunflower while I was washing the dishes following a late supper. I have open door warning signs attached to each exit door, but somehow this particular night I had forgotten to activate the front door device. When I realized the door was open and Ruth was not in the house, I grabbed a flashlight and I ran outside. Imagine the panic this poor gentleman was going through. She had vanished. I went up and down the sidewalk calling her name, but there was no sign of her. So I called 911. This letter is written as a sincere and grateful thank you to your department and to the officers who responded so quickly to my phone call. In a matter of minutes, Officer Abrigo arrived, followed by Officer Rumsley, and then officers in several other patrol vehicles. Within 10 minutes, one of the searching officers found my Ruthie several blocks away, still in pajamas and stocking feet. I'm told she was confused but able to give them her name, and they gently coaxed her into their car and drove her home. The thoughtfulness and professionalism exhibited by each of your officers that night was beyond measure. Who knows what the outcome might have been if the Marana Police Department had not come so quickly to find and rescue my wife. Thank you again so very much. Nice letters like this really tell me that our officers are out there doing the right thing. Now this one, I happen to know this gentleman. He is a sergeant of Tucson Police Department. When I say old, I think he was a sergeant when Moses was floating in a basket down the Nile. He's been around a while, and I like the way he phrases this. On the morning of April 24th, 2021, I experienced a total engine failure of my Cessna, and I parked it in a field. Parked it, right? He parked it. He didn't crash it. He parked it in a field of creosote bushes. He goes on to say, I'm a retired Tucson police sergeant, mostly patrol, and that's true. And I know a thing or two about how officers are supposed to handle the situations. Frankly, I'm not used to the level of service these two officers provided to us. They put me in touch with the NTSB and the FFA, and then he goes on to talk about all the... Because I know this gentleman, and he has been around a long time, and he understands police work, I was kind of struck by the fact that he says, what does it say here? He's not used to the level of service. And that shocked me because that shouldn't be the case, right? It tells me how far, as a profession, we've been removed from what was always an expectation, right? Doing unparalleled service, unwavering protection. So I called him. I didn't get to speak to him in person. I got to speak to his recorder, but I wanted to thank him for doing that and bringing this to our attention. So we're talking about community policing. We're talking about a philosophy that embraces everything that we do. And we started this by creating a relationship with the community, by serving the community. This is another situation where we're serving the community. Um, One of our officers put together a backpack drive, and it kind of explains what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have a goal to provide over 700 students with new backpacks stuffed with all the necessary school supplies that they need. There's a lot of kids out there in need, and I know the Chamber has helped in these drives as well. A lot of businesses have helped, but this is just one project that we're involved in. Again, serving the community. Once we've established these relationships with our communities, now we start working with the individuals, start working with the community itself. On the left, we did a homeless care package drive. We partnered up with the Kiwanis Club and the Marana High School. The kids there had an idea to go out there and create these packages for our homeless population. So in there you find things like socks and disinfectant and toilet paper and things like that that they can use. Special Olympics Torch Run, we do that every year, raise a lot of money for Special Olympics. And of course, we talked about the backpack drive through Marana High School. And now, it flips on us, right? We've been serving the community, we're working with the community, now the community is working with us. They're serving the police. So on the upper left, the CDO Kennel Club came out and donated $3,000 to our K9 unit so that we could buy, it's called a hot dog system. It's a warning system in the vehicles that tells the handler if it's too hot in the vehicle, so the dog is safe. Very thankful to the CDO Kennel Club for coming forward and donating that to us. Sunflower residents, great neighborhood. Sunflower is always there for us. They're always bringing us treats. I keep telling them, quit with the donuts, okay? No more donuts. So here I think they're bringing us pizzas and stuff, but these folks are always out there helping us out. Fantastic neighbors and citizens of Marana. And the Southern Arizona Book Heroes. Back in April, this lady here, Jennifer Dillon, came to me. I didn't know who she was. She showed up with her partner, and they sat down and they started talking to me about this book drive, these duffel bags full of books and stuffed toys and things. And immediately I realized how important this little program was. She put it all together herself. And what it's used for is dealing with dealing with victims, basically. It's an icebreaker. Inside this duffel bag, like I said, are a bunch of coloring books and crayons and stuffed toys and things like that. And having worked as a child abuse detective many years ago, I recognized the importance of just breaking that ice with a child. Getting down on your knees and, playing with a stuffed animal or a coloring book of some sort. It really kind of just eases the situation, calms them down so that you can get the information that you need. So God bless her for doing this. She did this all on her own. It's all based on donations. I think it's a great program, and I think you're going to see a lot more of this out there. Well, now we've served the community. We've worked with the community has worked with us, and then we got our fantastic volunteer group, our VIPs. Anybody here a VIP or been through the program? No? Well, we need to get you on board, right? These folks are outstanding. They come out here, they volunteer thousands of hours a year to the program. They're out there helping our patrol officers, our investigators. They're just fantastic. Now, 2020 was a bad year for all of us with COVID, and these people were stuck at home like everyone else, just chomping at the bit to get back to work. I'd get calls almost weekly. When can we come back? Please clear this, Sorry, we can't do that. We gotta respect the rules out there. But they're back now in full force. We couldn't do our job without them. They really are a part of our team. And this is the volunteer group. We want to make sure that we pay this forward. So we have a Police Explorer program. We take a lot of young teenagers who have expressed an interest in law enforcement, and we train them up. And our Police Explorers have won many awards across the state, doing things like police tactics and searches and things like that. We have a lot of trophies in the trophy room because of their efforts. So that is what community policing is all about to us. It's really a philosophy. It's embracing that partnership with the community, recognizing that we can't do this alone. And so we went out there again, as I explained. We worked with you guys. We earned your trust. You worked with us. We worked together, right? Now, this next slide talks about accreditation. I'm proud to say that we're one of the first in the state to reach accreditation in 2019. This program is run by the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Agency. It's a program that really looks at best practices. It looks at policies and things of that nature. When we entered this a few years ago, we had to do a self-assessment phase of the department, and I was heading that project. It was quite an eye-opener because I got a chance to open up our books, look at our policies, look at our practices, and see if we were really meeting those best practices that exist. Happy to say, 9 months, 10 months later, we were accredited and one of the first in the state to do that. This is fantastic. Our risk pool loves it because it shows and it gives the community the confidence that your police agency is doing that level of service that's recognized as best practices in the state. Now I'm going to talk about some crime trends. How many of you have heard about these gadgets we're talking about here, catalytic converters? Okay. Hopefully you haven't been a victim of a catalytic converter theft. This is nationwide, people. This is going on nationwide, and some of these slides will show this. Apparently, there's a lot of money in these things, and it's based on the materials that are found inside the catalytic converters. There's a lot of precious metals in there. Some of these things go anywhere from $100 to $1,000, depending on the materials that's extracted from there. And basically what's happening is thieves are looking for parking lots, empty lots, and they're going in there with their saw blades and cutting these things right off. Next morning you get up, you get in your vehicle, and you realize, it doesn't sound right. What's wrong with my car? Why is it doing this? Your catalytic converter's missing. This is what they look like in a stockpile. And this is the materials that are found in there that are precious. We've gone out with our crime prevention units, and we've done a lot of stuff on social media, talking to the community about what they can do to protect their vehicles. Most of these thefts that we've had here in Marana occurred in RV storage lots where there's very few people there. But recently we started noticing in large shopping centers as well. So here's our stats. We've had 47 catalytic converters stolen, and 45% of them were from RV stored in gated RV storage facilities. But as I mentioned, the trend now is they're hitting, parking lots, theaters, things like that. Well, this went a lot quicker than I thought it would. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. It's usually during the evening. We usually, when our officers come in at 6 a.m., they're getting reports that somewhere between the midnight and 5 a.m. there was theft. And we've actually caught some video footage of some of the people out there. There's different groups. It's not like a single group. And like I said, it's all over the United States. I'm sorry, you had one back there? It depends. Basically, they just get a Sawzall and crawl up underneath the car and 2 cuts and it's down. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And make sure you have lighting up there as well. Good point, good point. You're absolutely right. And the larger the vehicle, the more expensive catalytic converters, right? So that's why they hit a lot of RVs, because they're huge. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. You can contact me. I can put you in touch with Sergeant Adam Lawson, who runs the program, or I can put you in touch with our volunteers themselves. We have a gentleman by the name of Tom, he's the guy that gives us thousands of hours. Actually, a lot of them do, but he's really our go-to person. But yeah, and we also have a academy for the community, a citizens academy, where a lot of people get to learn about their police department. They get different presentations from members of the department, and a lot of them, their interest it spikes their interest to join the volunteers program once they've gone through the academy.
Is it also on your website?
It is. Yes, it is. Anything else? Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Anytime you call, Miranda, please, they show up.
Thank you. They better. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Nunez. That was very interesting. And I've been hearing a lot about the catalytic converters. I think it was on the East Coast or the Midwest. Somebody was actually trying to steal one off of a Prius and actually had a little jack, and it fell, and the car fell on him and killed him, and the homeowner came out the next morning and found him. That's just crazy. So our next speaker is Brian Haytoff. I hope I didn't murder that too badly. He's the CEO for Trichoelectric and is going to give us an update on Trico. So please welcome him.
All right, is this working? All right, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, and thanks everybody for inviting me here. Chief, you're a tough act to follow. Next time, if there is a next time, I'll make sure I'll bring some slides. For this morning, I thought what I'd do is just tell you a little bit about myself because I'm new to town, and also give a quick refresher on Trichoelectric. So I moved here April 9th to Marana, and I started at Trichoelectric on April 12th. So I've been here 6 weeks or so, and I want to start by saying that I cannot be more impressed with our community. Everybody I meet, whether it's out at the stores or out and about, or my coworkers at Trico, folks at the town, and even the chamber, everyone has just been awesome. And I can just say that I'm very impressed, and you know how to make a guy feel welcome. So thank you for that. And especially, I want to make mention of the chamber. I had an opportunity to go to the mixer last night. For those chamber members who aren't used to going to the mixers, what an awesome event last night to get out and meet people and socialize. And so thank you to Audra and to Tammy and Rebecca. You just do a fabulous job. And we have a wonderful chamber, and hopefully we're all taking advantage of that and appreciating what our community and what we do for each other. So let me start a little bit about myself. I have been in the electric cooperative business for over 30 years. I've worked for 5 previous electric cooperatives prior to coming to Trico, and we had members in South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado, and Arizona. So I'm moving southwest to the warmer weather. 23 of those years, or close to 23, has been in the CEO capacity, and the other approximate 8 years have been in the Chief Financial Officer role. So I'm an accounting major. I came up through the finance and accounting side of the business, which may not be typical in an electric utility. A lot of times, people in my position come through the engineering side or the operations side of the business. But it served me well. Co-ops are in my blood. I think that is relevant to share. And so I grew up in the Midwest, and my mom and dad grew up on a farm. It's the same farm they own and operate today. My dad's 78 years old, and he's still working full time. He's still working 50 plus hours a week. He took over the family farm when his dad died when he was in high school, and other than 2 years when he was in the service, he's farmed full time ever since. And so from him, I've learned a very strong work ethic, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate my parents very much. My 3 brothers have come into the farming business now, as he's maybe thinking about winding down. We'll see how that goes. My brothers are anxious for that to happen, but Dad is an awesome guy, and he's taught me a lot over the years. But the point of that is that he was also on a board when I grew up. And so I was used to my dad always going to a co-op meeting once a month. I have an uncle who was the assistant general manager at an electric company in the Midwest. I had an aunt who was the CEO for Accreditation, which operates on cooperative business principles. And so co-ops are kind of in my blood. And I'm teaching that to kids. So my kids are involved in co-op programs, or were when they were in high school and college, in cooperative youth tour programs. Most of them, I have 4 kids. They've worked at the electric co-op at some point in their lives, and of course they're familiar with what I've done for a living, and so they really appreciate the cooperative business model. So jumping ahead, I jumped ahead a little bit. 4 kids. They are scattered around. 3 of them are in the Midwest, and one's in Denver. I have 3 who are in the workforce, and one who just got her bachelor's, and now she's going on to graduate school. My son, I should mention, is also in the business, so he is working for Mid-American Energy in close to Des Moines, and he's a wind turbine mechanic. And so he's doing well and enjoying that. He's a kid who always loved to climb trees growing up, and so it does not surprise me a bit to hear that he has wanted to go and make his career out of climbing wind turbines and working on them. I think from a leadership perspective, people will find me approachable, team-oriented, community-minded. I value positive attitudes. I value can-do spirits. And that's really consistent with the cooperative business model. So let me transition into Trico. We were formed in the 1940s when a group of ranchers and farmers wanted to bring electricity to their locations, and other utility providers wouldn't move out into the country. And this is a common theme across the country. There are 900 electric co-ops that serve in 48 states and almost every county across the United States. Trico is one of them. It's a very similar story about how rural areas did not have electricity, did not have electric service. And so we banded together, farmers and ranchers banded together, and with that can-do, entrepreneurial type spirit, built companies that are in existence today. And so for our first accounts were energized. Our first lines were built in Avra Valley and the Marana area. We now basically circle Tucson. And so whether it's Mount Lemmon or Saddlebrook or Marana, Avra Valley, Vector Rocks, all the way down to Arivaca and Sassabee, that is our service territory. We have a diverse membership, and so we have some very rural areas, as you know, and we also have some very suburban, urban areas as well. And so the co-op, well over the years, to the point where we are very financially sound. And this goes into why I was interested in coming here. We have a lot of positive things going on at Trico. We're financially sound. Our reliability is in the top tier of electric co-ops in the country, those 9 electric co-ops I mentioned. Our safety record is very solid, and we have a strong safety culture. And so out of the 900 electric co-ops, we're in the top 10% as far as our growth rate every year. And for Marana, as the growth continues to come to Marana and other areas around Tucson, Trico is a beneficiary of that. We also have lower rates today than what our members pay lower rates today than they did 10 years ago. Not very many utilities can say that. So we're very proud of that, and that's a testimony to our team. We have 130 full-time employees, and they do a great job. I couldn't be more impressed with our staff, and they just do an awesome job working for our members. So let me kind of circle back to the word cooperative, and that's where I started. So if you're not familiar with the cooperative, we are owned by serve. So if you get electricity from Trico, you're a member, you're an owner. You have a say in how we're governed. I report to a 7-person board of directors who are elected every April at our annual meeting, and they get electric service just like everybody else. And at the end of the year, when we have profits, and we still do need to, we are not for profit, but we do make some money because we need to sustain the business. It's kind of like oxygen. I look at our margins or our profits at the end of the year. If they keep us going to carry out the mission for another day. But eventually, after we invest those dollars back into the business, we give those back. So we have, it's a term in our business called capital credits. It's really a dividend for every member's share of the profits from a previous year. And so that's a cooperative model. We're very, yeah. And so, again, it's great to be here. I've enjoyed my 6 weeks, and I'm looking forward to many, many more years here in Marana and in Trico, at Trico. So with that, I'll open it up for questions anybody might have. Yes?
I just have a comment. I really appreciate what Trico does, and I never heard of one before I moved here, and so I think it's a great model, and there's so much more out there. So I do thank Trico for all of your
Thank you. We try hard. I forgot to mention one thing. So let me jump in here before the next question and say that one of the things that we hear from our membership, and we put it into action, and that is interest in renewable energy. So we are one of the leaders in the country when it comes to transitioning from traditional power sources to renewable energy. In fact, I think we're in the top 5 or top 10 of all electric co-ops in the country in our adoption of solar technology. We have 2 large solar arrays, fields, that we own ourselves, or we're part owners of. One is in the Benson area, Sierra Vista area, and then one is close to the Marana Airport. That's called Avion. It's a 10 megawatt solar field. Then we have not announced it to the public. Maybe this is our public announcement. I'll just say that there's an announcement coming soon on another large solar project that will be in the northern part of the Tucson area that we're excited to get started on. We've just signed all the agreements, and we're going to be working on now transitioning into the construction phase. So, and that project will be one of the largest projects of any electric co-op in the country. So, what else? Yes? Yeah, so the way the utility work is we want to avoid duplication of service. So, one company or the other runs lines down the street. So there are defined service territories here in Arizona, as there are in most states. And so those boundaries were established decades ago. And so and the benefit of that is that allows us to plan. So we're very capital intensive, infrastructure intensive business, and so if we know that there is a new subdivision going here, and we know it's our territory, we can plan for that substation and the infrastructure 2, 3, maybe 4 years in advance, if we know that the growth is happening in the area. If there's competition, one of the things that could happen is that neither company really wants to make plans for that investment. And so we work very closely with the town. We work very closely with builders and developers to understand what's happening in the future so that we can plan accordingly and make sure that as homes or businesses are constructed, that we're ready with our infrastructure. Any other questions? again for inviting me. And yeah, next time if I'm invited back, I'll have some more slides and I'll talk more about Trico. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. We're looking forward to having you in the community for many years to come. So that pretty much is the end of our speakers. So Audra, is there anything you'd like to add? Okay, we're good. So we will see you all back here June 23rd at 8 a.m. and let's try and fill the room. So everybody have a great day.